Welcome back to Need for Speed Heat, guys. In today's video, we are going to be building this thing, our wide-body Mazda RX7 full drift build, and showcasing for the very first time here on the channel, Need for Speed Heat customization. We're going to start it off with the thing that you guys want to see most, the Need for Speed Heat engine swaps, then jump into the performance and visual customization. We'll explain how all of that works, and the vanity items as well. They are super cool. Then when we're done that, we will jump into drifting this crazy car, which, just a heads up, as this is a full drift build, the thing is very difficult to drive, so just bear with me. Anyways, let's start it off with that thing that you guys want to see most, the engine swaps. Now, just a tip before we do get into it, I will scroll through all of the engines and rev them. You can actually rev the engines before you swap them into your car, and take a listen to the engine note. It changes for each of the different ones. So there you go, engine swapping in Need for Speed Heat. It is super cool. So those are all of the engines that are available for this Mazda RX-7. Now, a couple of things before we move on from those. One, you probably noticed that those engine swaps aren't actually unlocked and I wasn't able to swap them into the car. That's because I'm not currently a high enough level. At the time of recording this, I was level 20, which is pretty far into the game actually. And I still wasn't a high enough level to get any of the engine swaps available for this Mazda RX-7. However, if you're using more of a basic car, more of a starter car, those level requirements for swapping in engines actually change. So say you take like a little Golf, you can swap in a big ol' engine into that thing right from the get-go basically, and have some major fun with those. Anyways, you will also notice, as we're scrolling through, I'll take a look at my notes here, that there are different types of engines. We've got engines in this particular car. From Ford, we've got a Mercedes GT engine, we've got an Alfa Romeo, a Porsche engine, and the fastest engine for this particular car is going to be the one from the McLaren 570S. Now, you'll notice, when we're actually jumping through all of the different engines, there are certain numbers on your screen. There's a number, and then a bracket, and then another number. That other number is the maximum amount of horsepower that engine can take. So no longer do you need to just choose an engine and hope and pray that you can have a certain amount of horsepower in it. You actually can see it right from the get-go, so you don't need to waste your time and money upgrading an engine that you're not going to use. Anyways, let's talk about the performance upgrades going on the car right now, because it's super cool. So, as I was saying in yesterday's video, you can actually swap on parts that move your dot around your car. So you'll notice there's a little box on the right-hand side of the screen that says on-road, off-road, race, and drift. And you've got a little dot in that circle that moves around depending on the parts you put on your car. So again, I've got some notes here. There are 8 different types of suspension in this game. There's drift, race, off-road, on-road, speed cross, showcase, rally, and track racing, all of which will move that little dot somewhere else in that box. It is super cool and properly allows you to fine-tune your cars. It is super cool, and that's not the only thing that actually does that. You can, of course, toss on turbos onto your car, which obviously have their own properties. You toss a single turbo on versus a twin turbo versus a supercharger. They will all react differently and physically make your car feel a little bit different, which is actually super cool. The same thing goes for your tires and your differentials. You've got all the same options for your tires on your car, plus the addition of drag tires, which is super cool, which obviously is going to get you off the line super quick. Your differential is exactly the same. You can toss on a diff, and it will move that little dot somewhere in that circle. So, like I was saying, we were making this thing a full drift car. So, essentially what that meant was getting that little dot all the way down, or all the way to the right for drifting, and then all the way at the bottom for on-road driving. So, on-road drifting. That is what this car is very good at. And it's, I will say, it is definitely a struggle. Now, for this particular car, as you could probably tell, I didn't have all of the upgrades available for this thing, because like I was saying, I was only level 20. It meant that I couldn't toss on like the elite parts or like the pro parts or things like that. So I don't think I'm running very much horsepower here. I think it's in like the 300 to 400 horsepower range. And you will see, even with that, this car slides around a lot. With the upgrades that we put on it, it like fishtails all over the place. We'll come back to that, though, when we get into the free roam stuff and we're driving around our off-road, our drift courses. However, because of the lack of horsepower, I wasn't actually able to, like, send it through the corners the way I wanted to, which was kind of unfortunate. You'll see what I mean. Bear with me, though. It's obviously my first time playing this game and the first time ever drifting in this game. So, it's not the best. I definitely improve throughout the day, but you'll see what I mean when we get to that. Anyways, visual customization. This is all the stuff that you're already familiar with. Tossing on your wide bodies, your big ol' rear wings, your big ol' Bosu exhaust as well, if that's your thing. It's super cool, all the options that you've got. If you played previous Need for Speed games in the past, it's all gonna be stuff that you're familiar with. The only thing that has sort of kind of changed is your different license plates, which of course, duh. However, I'm still just gonna say, one thing that I wish they had in this game was the ability to match your front tires with your rear tires, because obviously you can change them independently, so you could have your front tires from one manufacturer and your rear tires from another, which is very cool. It's an awesome feature. However, I want a shortcut to be able to match them a little bit quicker. We've got the ability to transfer over our paint job from the front to the rear, but I want to be able to do it with my actual tires itself. Anyways, painting is exactly what you would expect, and here are your vanity items in Need for Speed Heat. So you've got things like your nitrous color, your tire smoke, your underglow, air suspension, and your horns. Super cool. You can go or mess around with those. You will see my very, very obnoxious blue tire smoke and my lime green underglow. There wasn't yellow underglow, which was kind of surprising. Anyways, you can toss air suspension on, so when you lower your car down or when you turn your car off, it'll lower itself down. Mess around with your horns, and let's get into the final thing. Exhausts. So yeah, I'm just gonna say, it definitely doesn't get boring messing around with all of the exhaust stuff. It is super, super cool. Anyways, let's take our little Mazda RX7 out into the open world and cross fingers that we are going to be able to drive this thing well. Now, keep in mind, like I was saying, this is my first ever time playing this game and my first ever time drifting in this game, and jumping straight into the deep end with a fully built drift car was probably not the best idea, as you will very quickly realize. So, we will head over to our first drift event. We have to score 60,000 points to pass this one. This is actually the very first drift event that you will get in Need for Speed Heat. You do have like a little tutorial mission. However, once you finish that up, you just need to drive like a corner or two. Basically tells you how to slide a car around. You will get dropped into this mission, and it is your job to whip it around here and score the required number of points. Now, drifting works exactly the same way as you're familiar with from previous Need for Speed games. However, except for one thing. Now, when we were upgrading our car, you might have noticed in the performance customization, there are what they call auxiliary parts that you can add into your car. Those are things like our nitrous bottles, which we are shooting bright green flames with. Those are basically things that you can add onto your car, and they are sort of like bonuses that you can choose. So for example, you can choose one NOS bottle with a capacity of 6 liters, or you can do what I did here and take 2 bottles that have 3 liter capacity. Now you might be saying, well, why is that important? Well, in previous Need for Speed games, you used to be able to tap on the nitrous, and that would hold your multiplier at the top of your screen. That is no longer a thing anymore. So basically, you've got shot on your nitrous, and it uses the entire bottle, and it doesn't actually hold your nitro or your bonus at the top of your screen. From what I was told, I was messing around with it, trying to get it to activate, and the devs were just like, yeah, we took that out. So I don't know if it's gonna come back when the game officially launches, because I was mentioning that and I was like, I really wish that was a thing. So maybe, who knows, but we'll have to see. Anyways, in terms of all the drifting mechanics, it works exactly the same way as it always has. However, you might be noticing a couple of things. One, my car is experiencing a lot of understeer, which is actually surprising. I was like, I'm gonna put this thing on full drift, right? Which I was thinking, oh, it's gonna be slipping and sliding all over the place. But coming into slower corners, the front end was really biting and not wanting to step out nearly as much as I thought it would. The other thing was the sheer, like, almost like auto driving at some parts when I was transitioning from like a left to a right. My car would almost like snap in a very awkward way, and it almost felt like auto driving. In a sense, if you played previous Need for Speed games, it felt a little strange. I don't know if it's going to get fixed or looked at before the game officially comes out. But anyways, we will jump over to our second race in the middle of the night with our little RX7. So you just saw me there switching from day to night. The way you do that is you open up your in-game menu and you open up your map, and then basically you can just head over to any event or just drive over and do it from any point in the map itself, and you just click your thumbstick in and you get this very cool animation where your car flips over into the dead of night, and then you can start up all of your night events, which are super cool. They're actually separate, so events in the day and events in the night actually completely separate, so you won't be able to go and do this same event in the middle of the day. So just a heads up. Anyways, now this is obviously the middle of the night, which means cops are roaming around. I've currently got a heat level 0, so cops don't even know I exist right now, which is nice as I'm trying to drift around and get familiar with the whole drifting mechanics, as you can probably still see. I'm definitely improving from that first event, but it's still not at the level that I would like to be at. Like, again, my transitions from left to right just feel a little bit sloppy, if I'm honest. However, going up some of these hills, when I was able to, like, finally find some open road without traffic, I was sort of kind of able to get it, but again, still struggling, as you're able to see. Anyways, when we come up to the end of this event, it's super cool because you actually get your rep, and you can see that go straight up into the top. Now, I was finished this event and I was like, I want to drive down that cool drift road that we just drove up, and it happened to be a drift zone in the game, which was super cool. So you obviously have to go and try to set your best score possible. I'm currently heat level 2, by the way, which is cool. Anyways, on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see your requirements for a certain number of stars. Now, if you watched my video from yesterday, where we showed off the full car list in Need for Speed Heat, if you go through and you, like, get 3 stars on all the events or 3 stars on all the drift events, you will unlock some special cars, which is really, really cool. So you can see me here going up the drift road again, trying to beat my previous score, and I managed to do that in all of one corner. So currently, my drifting is kind of hit or miss, but obviously I will improve over time as I go straight into the back of a BMW. Anyways, boys, that is gonna wrap it up for today. We're gonna finish up the night here, head back to the safe house, and bank all of our rep. We are heat level 2. We have got a bunch of reputation, so we gotta bank it by heading to the safe house and securing it, leveling up, and getting some money for that as well. Anyways, guys, that is your first look at Need for Speed Heat drifting. Tomorrow, we have a very, very cool video about rally racing coming to Need for Speed Heat. I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!